As a former New Hampshire state representative who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963, he currently serves on the New Hampshire Commission for Human Rights. He's a product of Birmingham, Alabama, where at one time he had to guess how many jelly beans were in a fruit jar just to be able to vote.
We've come a long way, but we're not there yet.
Together we will explore the visible laws, invisible laws, and the structures above and beneath our human surface that keep us reaching for the stars. It is his goal to work with you in putting Nashua back on top, to be voted the #1 city in the nation again.
We are in a crisis situation, and that's what we're going to talk about.
I'm Harvey Keye. Welcome to Nashua Strong.
Hello, Nashua. Hello, beautiful Nashua. I call it beautiful because it is beautiful. I don't know if you know it or not, but this city, out of 3,300 cities its size across the nation, is #1 in terms of how it's run and the safest city of all of those cities is Nashua, New Hampshire, run by a fantastic mayor called Jim Dunches. And I do not want to let that go past us because we are now on YouTube. We're going around the world. We want the world to know that city called Nashua is a shining city on top of the hill just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Before we go a little bit further, I want to make sure that we say to all of the 90,000 Nashuan residents who are going to the polls to vote, hopefully all of you who are eligible to vote, as soon as you can this term. We need you badly. And I beg you to stay in the game. Also want to make sure that I thank those young people who are behind the scenes today who are saying, Harvey, raise your voice, raise your hand, go to vote, and they make us look professional. And now I could introduce you to my senator. I call her my senator before she became my senator. But I'm not in her district, but I still call her my senator because she's a warrior. And I looked up the definition of a warrior before I called Rosenwald a warrior, because she's a fierce fighter for what is right. And how she got to be that way, we're going to ask her a few personal questions down the line, and we almost will be reaching her soul. Well, I don't know about that. We might have to define what a soul is, but at any rate, we know she's a fighter, she's a fierce fighter, and she doesn't take no for an answer. I want to sort of compare her, my senator, to Abraham Lincoln. Someone asked Abraham Lincoln, what do you do with your enemies? And I asked my senator, what do you do with your enemies? And she says, Harvey, I make them my friends, and they become I make my enemies my friends, and they are no longer enemies. This is what Abraham Lincoln said many years ago. He doesn't have any enemies. And then I asked my senator, how do you do this? And I suggested to her just not too long ago, is it that you carry a pocket full of happiness with you to reach across the aisle? I don't think she gave me an answer. But the last time we were here, we talked about drugs and we had a great discussion. And what we had at that time was an understanding of what all happened with the drugs on the street in the Nashua, city of Nashua. Today we're going to talk about a little bit different stuff that we don't usually talk about. It's not everyday kind of talk because it's not sexy. It's called taxation, taxes, income tax, school vouchers. Who gets hurt and who gets paid? How do wealthy people in our community can go to the best schools, buy the biggest houses, and don't pay any taxes? Or do they pay taxes? Well, one of the things I found a long time ago, a word that meant, my mother said to me, son, if you don't have an understanding, you don't have much. And I thought about that. I didn't think about it then. I think about it now. That if you don't understand what you're involved in, you might as well not be involved. So understanding is a key word in my dictionary. Now let me introduce you to my senator, Sidney Rosenwald. And I want to ask her one question before we get started.
Okay.
I want to ask you this. Do we have a voucher program in Nashua?
We have a school voucher program. I think that's what you're referring
Yes.
to. It's all over the state. And essentially it means that any family whose household income is at or below 350% of the poverty level can take the state's contribution to education funding, which is about $5,000 a year, and they can use that $5,000 either for homeschooling or to help pay for private school tuition.
Does that include charter schools?
Well, charter schools are public schools, so no, they're not tuition at charter schools. But it includes independent private schools and religious schools. And this program has been operating for 2 years. It has cost $50 million so far. There is almost no accountability for it.
Yeah, you're saying no accountability for
There
vouchers?
really isn't, because I mentioned that your income has to be at or below 350%.
Below the poverty line.
But you only have to qualify for that once.
Yeah, but
So you could have a 5-year-old who enters kindergarten, who would be entering kindergarten. Your income is at 350% of poverty. The next year, your income grows, and through their 12th grade year, you never have to qualify again.
Let me ask you this. What is the poverty level? You said 350%
Of poverty.
below. What is the poverty level that they have to be 350%? What is that level?
You know, it depends on the size of the family, how many people are in the family, but let's say it's $100,000 a year. But I want to contrast that with the eligibility requirements for children to get Medicaid health insurance. That income ceiling is lower than the school voucher program. That's 323% of poverty, and the family has to be determined eligible every single year.
So with the school voucher,
You qualify
you,
once.
if you're
And
age
that's
5 and you go up to age 20, that's it.
Well, through
Something.
high school.
Okay.
Right.
Let's
And
say,
that's it.
Yeah.
And we don't know very much about this program. It's run by an outside vendor who is contracted by the state. We have no metrics on student outcomes at all. There's almost no reporting. All we really know is what towns the students come from. Most children in New Hampshire attend their local public school.
Could we get rid of that program? Should we?
Well, I didn't vote for it in the first place because we know that 80% of the students receiving these vouchers were already attending private schools.
They're from a wealthy family.
Well, their family had the resources
They have
already.
the means. Yeah.
And so I didn't vote for it because taking money out of the public school system, which this program does, for the other 20% of students who do attend public school and then leave, that doesn't reduce the cost at all for the school district's budget, because most of the costs in a school system are fixed. So if you have a child leave Mount Pleasant, you don't get rid of a classroom, you don't get rid of a teacher, you don't get rid of, a lunch person or heat and water or textbooks. You really don't save any money, but for every child who leaves, $5,000 a year goes with that student, and taxpayers, property taxpayers, are left holding the bag.
In other words, we pay the price.
Yes.
With the taxpayers here. Is it possible that program could ever end?
Yes.
Do you have any idea when it's going to end?
Well, I think when we have a legislature and a governor who all believe that public money belongs in public schools.
Well, why do we have this?
Why do we have the program?
Yeah.
Because we have a Republican legislature and a Republican governor who created the program. And the state house tried to expand it a lot. They tried to raise the income threshold to 500% of the poverty level. The Senate Republicans were only willing to go to 425%, but that would be more than half the families in the state would qualify to have public money help them buy either homeschool supplies or pay tuition.
So our public tax money is paying for some wealthy person to get over on us, called a school voucher program.
Yes.
Folks, that's an understanding. We're being had, in a sense. People are taking money out of the public schools and allowing those people who have means to use it.
That's right. And on the back end, it's going to raise property taxes because every child who leaves a public school system takes $5,000 with them, but the costs don't go down.
Folks, that's why we have her here. She's a warrior, and she's telling you, hopefully you understand, that we do not benefit by the school voucher program, and we need to change something in the State House to get it changed. Now, do we have, you have an idea about school choice? Do we?
Well, that's the voucher. That is the voucher program. The Republicans don't call it a voucher program. They call it school choice and say not every school works for every child. Well, that's a truism, right? But the answer is not, let's take money out of public schools and put a bigger burden on property taxpayers. That's not the answer to improving our education.
I know this. I don't want to keep paying taxes that I'm paying on my house. And if we could get this changed, the way we get it changed is get people in the House to vote against it. So which means we have to go to the ground level zero at City Hall and in local communities throughout Nashua, New Hampshire, and throughout our state to vote something different. Now, I asked the warrior for those answers, and I hope you get it. Now, we're going to switch a little bit, and I asked her, I asked this warrior, what is a warrior? A warrior is a fighter, a fierce fighter. And I think I got what I wanted her to tell us and give us an understanding of what her opinion. And she's been in the Senate now 6 years.
6 years.
You were in the House for how long?
14.
Hey, man, that's a lifetime, almost. But let's get to, now I said, you know, I don't get into religion and sex and politics and all that kind of stuff. But
Especially not at the dinner table.
not at the dinner table. But we are at crossroads in our country. And I say in our country, but it starts at home. We need a lot of help. And an understanding of that help comes from people like this warrior who's been in the business of politics for 20 years in the state of New Hampshire. And I can't appreciate you more than saying, I appreciate you so much. But we're going to get a little bit personal with my guest and ask her, where were you born?
I was born in the New York City suburbs, specifically the town of Rye, New York.
Rye, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not Rye, New Hampshire, but Rye, New York.
Rye, New York, folks, not New Hampshire. But Rye, New Hampshire is a upscale part of our state. It's underwater, which means the wealthy can live there.
Part of Rye, New York is also on the water, but my family didn't live on the water.
Okay.
But it was a pretty small town. It's a lot bigger now. There's been a lot of development down there, but it was kind of a sleepy little bedroom community for New York City.
Where were you educated?
I went to college at Harvard, and then I got
You're a Harvard graduate?
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to a school called Rye Country Day.
That was in New York?
That was in New York.
So you got here at what age?
I was 34 when I moved to New Hampshire.
And that's when you went to Harvard?
Nope.
You went to Harvard before?
When I was 18.
Hey, folks, at Harvard at 18. 18 in Harvard? Huge, huge. Thank you so much.
And then when I moved to New Hampshire, I went and got a master's at Riviera in arts, Masters of Arts.
Now, you speak of Riviera University. That's my school. I graduated from Riviera University.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
And the motto at Riviera University is upward and better. And Sister Paulie, who is now the president, shared that with me a couple of weeks ago. Harvey, she wanted me to speak it in Latin. I couldn't say it in English, but she said it's upward and better, and I tell you, I want to leave it with you. Upward and better is our destiny.
I got a great graduate education there.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
Dr. Shigori?
I did not have.
Well, he was. I was one of the. We are here to talk about me, but I was one of the first men to go to Riviera back in the 70s. It was an all-girls school, and I was the first one of the guys who signed the dot. Says And Dr. Segura said, why are you coming here? So, but I did. I got a master's degree from Rivier. Now,
It's a great school.
it is marvelous, yeah. Now, who or what inspired you to enter politics?
You know, New Hampshire has been so great for me and my family. We moved here with a 1-year-old, subsequently had another child. My husband had a long and fabulous career as a physician in Nashua, and I worked for a while at Southern New Hampshire Medical Center when we moved here, and I was in graduate school. And our children, their closest friends are still the friends they made first.
That's marvelous.
It's marvelous because the people who live in Nashua are so great. So my daughter is having a baby at the end of August. Who is hosting her baby shower? Her first friend that
Wow.
she met in preschool
Wow.
when she was 3.
Wow.
And they are still the best of friends. And you know, the New Hampshire house is so big that everybody serves,
Yes.
as you know,
Yes.
having served.
Yeah.
And one day in probably 2002, I was home. Someone rang my doorbell. It was a state rep from Ward 3. She was running for re-election, and she tried to recruit me. She said, "Oh, you should run. We need another Democrat on the ballot." And I said, it was too close to the filing period, and I thought, no, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I can't. But 2 years later, I agreed. And I found that
What year was that?
that was 2004. And I found that it's made me feel so gratified because it's a combination of doing policy work that benefits the entire state, let's say, but also working to help specific individuals with their specific problem. And particularly in the Senate, I've been able to do more of that. People who have lost their health insurance or struggling to get qualified for Medicaid, people whose elderly disabled mother is moving to New Hampshire from another state, has been on Medicaid, and that other state is struggling to get qualified here. People who during the pandemic, we did a lot of this, they got laid off from work and they were struggling to get their employment checks.
Could I wrap that up for you?
Mm-hmm.
You have been given and serving with an incredible amount of humility.
Well, I'm
All
a
your life.
middle child.
You're the only child.
Middle.
Middle
I'm a
child.
middle child.
Well, you already
So you know what
overlooked.
that means.
That meant they didn't pay much attention to you.
Well, that's right.
That's what.
It means you have to seek consensus,
Yes.
right? You have to work with others.
Yes.
It means you don't expect to get your own way.
Because the first one got it.
First one got it, and
And
the
the last
second,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
the third one gets it. And in the middle, you have to be the peacemaker. And so
And you have done that.
I think it's made me a better legislator.
But in addition to that, Sidney, my senator, you fight like hell to get your way. But I think, I want to say this to you, because I think Sister Pauli said it to me, carry your happiness with you. You greet people with happiness. It's pretty hard to turn it down. And I don't know if you use that or not, but you're able to reach across the aisle
I do work across the aisle.
And you're successful.
In the Senate, we must. There are only 24 of us. There are only 5 of us on a committee, except Finance has 7. But we work together. And there is more that we agree on than we disagree on. Nobody ever hears about the things that we agree on. But probably 80 to 90% of the bills we agree on. It's either a good idea or not a good idea.
I heard something about you, because I did a little research about you.
Okay.
And they said that in the Senate, they'd never heard this senator say, I disagree. What she offers is this. Here's the nugget. I have a different view.
Okay.
And that's what they say Sidney Rosenwald uses. She's never said, I disagree with you, Bob Bardis, or anybody else, or George Russell. But I understand your position, but I have a different view. And that different view is really disagreeing, in a sense, because you present a better view. Now, I hear that loud and clear. Where did you go on your honeymoon?
Well, so my husband and I got married in September of 1977. He was starting his last year of medical school. In fact, he was in his last year of medical school. So we didn't go anywhere. He went to school. However, when he finished school in May of 1978 and was not going to start his residency until July 1st, we went to Europe for 2 months. We took backpacks. We started in Greece. We went up through what was Yugoslavia. We went to Hungary. We went to Austria. We went to Germany.
What part of Germany?
That time, I think we went to Munich.
That was popular at that time.
We went to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Because in college, I studied art history. So we went to places that had world-renowned art collections in the museums. And that includes Vienna, Amsterdam. But we had some really intriguing experiences in the former communist countries.
So you've learned a lot.
It was very interesting.
Yes. What, Senator, do you remember most about what your mom would say to you about anything, just about her personality?
My mother was the most socially adept person I've ever met in my life.
What do you mean by that?
She could talk to anybody and make them feel comfortable. You always felt like you were the only person she was interested in. She was never looking over your shoulder to see who else might be there. If she was talking to you, you had her full attention. And she could, you know, from considering that she spent her entire life living in New York City and the suburbs of New York City, she could talk to people from everywhere and be interested in their lives.
Even though you're the middle child, you do that now.
I try.
And you're doing a great job.
I feel she's with me.
She's with you all the time.
When I get sworn in every 2 years, I take one of her handbags with me. And I put it on the desk in the Senate. And it's like bringing her with me.
She's always with you.
She's always with me. But sometimes she's there in the shape of a handbag.
Yes.
A little more tangible, but she's always with me.
Yes. Folks, listen to this closely. Senator Rosenwald says her mother
Is
is always with her.
Always. And my sisters feel the
Yes.
same way, too.
They just slipped away.
They feel always that she's very present in their lives.
That's fantastic. Okay,
She was remarkable.
I'm going down the line of these questions.
Okay.
How has the world, let's say the world, because you travel quite a bit, and society changed since you were a young 19-year-old at Harvard?
Well, I went to high school during the Vietnam War. All my friends were worried about their draft numbers. That was scary. I was 19 when Roe versus Wade was decided by the Supreme Court. And I think that decision gave women an equal participation in society. The chance to determine their own futures, their own economic futures, their own family futures that men have always had, but women never had, and now are
Do they have them
losing
now?
again. Well, I think they're losing that again. We know that the Republicans in New Hampshire are trying to pass very strict bans on abortion. Over in the House this year, a 15-day abortion ban was proposed. Nobody would even know they were pregnant. A 6-week ban got a majority of Republicans voting for it. And again, many women wouldn't even have known they were pregnant.
Have you ever thought about asking some of those people, men, what is it that you're trying to do for women? I mean, just, and I think of a couple of things, but I want you to tell me, what do you think they're trying to do to women?
I try not to guess at people's motives because chances are you're going to be wrong. So I try not to guess at that. But because I'm married to a physician, I will not vote to put myself as a non-doctor, someone with no education there, no experience, no training. I will not put myself between the patient and the doctor in any case. And that's where it comes down for me. That decision, hard as it is, can only be made appropriately by patients and doctors. We don't need politicians in the exam room. I know how hard doctors work. My husband read a stack of journals like this every month. He read not only the US journals, but he read the major European journals so that he could keep up in his field of specialty. There is no way that I would be appropriate in making a decision for the New Hampshire public about cardiology treatment. And so there's also no way that it's appropriate for me to make a decision about somebody's reproductive choices and treatment.
If that's true, and if you believe as I believe, and you don't have to agree, I think it's power and control. Simply that. And then beyond that is words that I won't use any further.
If I weren't reluctant to guess that motive, I would agree with you that it's about power and control.
Thank you. Thank you. We don't want to go any further than that. What do you remember most about your childhood? One or two things.
Well, we played a lot outside.
You played what?
A lot outside.
You were outside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and we would just run back and forth. You know, not all of the land had houses on it,
Yeah.
so there was a lot of open space. And it was basically, you know, we would go back home when it got dark. We just played outside.
Has anyone ever hurt you?
Physically?
Or otherwise?
Yes, people have hurt me.
How did you get over it?
Time heals all wounds, doesn't it?
This is the senator, folks. You know, she's giving me those answers.
Do you want to talk about taxes?
No.
Too boring?
Talk about tax. We forgot about taxes. Oh, boy.
We could talk
what
about
is
taxes.
What is the nicest thing that you've ever done for anyone?
I don't know.
A lot of things you've done, but not, I don't know, maybe.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I guess you'd have to ask everyone that
person.
I've ever done anything nice
Yeah?
for.
What has been the happiest, one of the happiest moments in your life?
Oh, definitely the birth of my children.
The birth of her
And my
children.
grandchild.
And her grandchild.
And
Okay.
I'm, as I said, expecting another one in about a month and a half.
Senator, what do you love doing now? You've gone through the Civ. You've gone to Harvard. That wasn't easy. You've reached across the aisle to get some reluctant people to say you disagree, and you never said that. You said, I have a different view. I have a different view. And your different view is actually a disagreement, but it says, here's my view, and I respect your view. So, what was my question?
But you didn't ask one.
Okay. Where do you get this passion to be so involved in the lives of all of the people you meet? And I believe that, and you never told me that, but you're so interested in the upward and betterment of human beings, in my opinion. And that's my few years of being in your presence. What is it that gives you that kind of passion, you know?
I think it was just part of my family that you always work to make your community better than you found it. You do what you can to make things better for your community and the lives of people around you.
See, this is what brings me to what may have been a better question. Do you want for others more than you want for yourself?
I don't want anything else for myself, except my new grandchild, who I'm looking forward to meet. But I want the people of New Hampshire to have the best chances they can to have happy, fulfilling, healthy, and productive lives. I want my children to stay here. They both did return to New Hampshire as adults, not to Nashua, sadly, but they're living in New Hampshire. But I want their children to inherit a New Hampshire that they love, they want to stay in, and they can afford to stay in. That's what I want.
Did you know that we're the safest city in the country to live?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a great mayor and a great board of aldermen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you carry a pocket full of happiness everywhere you go?
Well, if I have a pocket, and you know, women's clothing doesn't often have pockets.
Yeah.
This dress I'm wearing today actually does. I'm a happy person. I've been extraordinarily lucky.
Okay. Well, folks, we're about at the end. I asked you those tough questions.
And
I
we
think
never talked about taxes, Harvey.
Yeah, well, we finished with taxes. I think we. If you want to leave that go, let's go. Unless you want to talk.
No, we could talk about taxes another time.
Yeah, I think we have gotten you almost to your soul. We got to your heart and to your mind. We didn't get to the soul yet because we're still working on that. What is a message that you would like to leave with the voters of New Hampshire, voters of Nashua, today?
I would like to leave the voters of Nashua with the idea that they are represented currently by 27 hardworking, smart state reps and me. I am running for re-election. Most of the 27 state representatives are. There are a few new faces, but all of us are working hard every day to make New Hampshire the best place in the country to live, work, and raise a family. I've had a lot of opportunity, and I'm hoping to do it again next term.
Young lady, my senator, I am honored to be in your presence. I get strength by being here with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Harvey.
Thanks again. Folks, you've heard it from the fiercest warrior we have in the State House. And take some of that information as biblical. If you want to take it that way, take it. But we're in the greatest state in the country, and we got so much to offer. Listen to the senator, listen to the 27 reps that are at the State House working hard for justice and freedom. And our freedom is on the line for this election. And I said we wouldn't talk about that much, and we're not going to talk about it. But if you don't get it, and if you don't understand that our freedom and our justice and our civilization could be on the line in November. Thank you so much, folks, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.